Hey, good morning, and welcome to Northern Illinois. Hey, there we are. Welcome to Northern Illinois and a beautiful summer day in my backyard this morning before I start my day. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert and I'm a burnout coach for women, which means that in this overwhelming, crazy world that we live in, more and more women are burning out, dealing with depression, anxiety, overwhelm, and then physical issues that come from that high level of stress. And we're expected to just take it and function and somehow be miraculously perfect and support the people around us that have all of these issues which they're not working through. So it's where a lot of us women find ourselves. And my passion in my career is helping women sort all of that stuff out. So today's topic is 4 methods of managing anxiety symptoms without using medication. I've dealt with anxiety ever since I was a little kid. And anxiety for me felt like my chest was tight and my skin was crawling. And it felt like I couldn't move, like I would be paralyzed. And all I could do is stare at a wall and be in bed and somehow just bear down and cope with the symptoms that I had, which could be, discomfort in my digestive system, or a really bad mood, or an angry mood, or exhaustion. And these feelings, these felt senses, were so overwhelming that I couldn't really get anything done in life. I was wasting my life. Summers I would spend as a kid inside, not doing anything, just because I was so uncomfortable to be around everything. So that's been my journey until now. I'm at this point. Whatever makes you crazy is your genius. So my anxiety made me crazy, and so I've spent the majority of my life really sorting that out, which is how I ended up in shiatsu massage therapy and doing body mind work, and my real passion for this stuff. So anxiety is more than an emotion. Hey, Mary Jane, nice to see you. It's a felt sense. It's something that we feel in our body. Similar to depression. They say depression has physical symptoms, and it does. It has a heaviness and an emptiness of mind, or empty as in you can only think of 4 or 5 thoughts that go endlessly in your head. And the same thing is true with anxiety. Depression and anxiety are kind of like opposite sides of the same coin. They're a felt sense that we have, which is based more than just on emotion. People like to narrow it down and say anxiety as if it's a clear-cut sort of answer, instead of realizing it's a wide variety of stressors that are being felt by the body, by the mind, by everything going on. So it's almost like this crazy perfect storm synergy of different factors which cause us to label how we feel as anxiety. So I went into body mind medicine just because, hey, Kathy Ann, I didn't have the ability to control my thoughts or to control my emotions with my thoughts. Now Einstein has a phrase about that. You can't fix the problem with the same mindset that it was created in. And so the beautiful thing with Eastern medicine is Eastern medicine talks about how everything is so intertwined that you can work on your emotions by doing things to your body. You can work on your head and the thoughts that you have by doing things to your body, by getting yourself out of that state of mind, that energetic state of fight or flight, that anxiety feels like, and depression feels like. When we're able to get out of that pattern of thinking and into the more rational pattern of thinking that you like. Some people call it a higher power. Some people call it channeling spirit. It's still you. It's still neural connections and nervous system connections that are you. It's a different part of your brain. So the key to dealing with anxiety symptoms is Do the things that you actually can do. And for me, those are physical things. So, number one, when I'm feeling anxious, I change how I physically feel inside. And the way that I change that is by doing something that physically changes how I feel. It could be chamomile tea. It could be caffeine. It could be a big glass of cold water, or it could be a glass of hot water, or it could be holding a cup of tea in my hands. It could be smelling something that's wonderful. It could be touching something that's soft and fabulous. When we give ourselves a different felt sense, when we feel differently inside, it helps break us out of that pattern. That pattern that has, 20 different symptoms, kind of like fibromyalgia. When they diagnose fibromyalgia, they diagnose it based on, do you have these 10 or 15 symptoms? If you do, then it qualifies, to be called fibromyalgia. It's the same thing with anxiety. So when we get into an anxious place, it's a pattern of being and it's a pattern of thinking. And our job is to break us out of that pattern. So I change how I feel inside. That's step number one. So if you're feeling anxious, or if I'm feeling anxious, which it can be, when I get out of balance, it's easy to do. The first thing I do is I up how much water that I'm drinking, and I'll change the temperatures of the water so that it gives me a different inside felt sense. The second way to deal with anxiety, or the symptoms of anxiety without taking medication, is to change your external environment. Change what we're looking at, what we're engaging in. So typically, what I'll do is, if I'm feeling anxious, I will stand up and I will go someplace else that has different pictures, different triggers, different things to look at. The best things to look at and be engaged with is looking at nature. They've done some great studies of productivity and people who are in cubicles versus people who have a window. If you have a cubicle, you have a very hard time staying on task and you end up feeling more anxious. It's because you don't have enough physical distraction for your body. It's like being in isolation. It makes you kind of go crazy. Whereas if you have a window to look out of, there's just enough stimulation that part of your body gets engaged. That part of your body gets an experience other than what you're focusing on. So when I have that felt sense of anxiety, I notice it, I get up and I go someplace else, preferably someplace that has grass growing and trees growing and some sort of nature element and movement and life, because that will break us out of that anxiety energetic pattern too. The third thing that I'll do is I'll move. Exercise is an antidepressant. If we don't exercise, we will be depressed. Hey, Vanessa, nice to see you. If we don't move, if we don't have activity, depression is the karmic, natural, obvious result of that. It's only when we move that we can, that it's an antidepressant. So if you did nothing, you would be depressed pretty much all of the time. That would be the state that you would be in. Or you would be anxious pretty much all of the time. So movement and exercise, it gives you that different felt sense, and it tells your body that you're ready to be alive and ready to kind of come into action, because you're not a robot that can sit at a desk or sit in a room. And as much as you really want to focus and get that task done, because there's a time limit, you're not designed for that. And so what will happen is those feelings of anxiety and those feelings of depression, that felt sense, they are a natural consequence of not moving. So a lot of people focus on exercises. When I think of exercise, the first thing I think of is, oh God, you mean I have to get on a treadmill? I have to get on an elliptical? I have to get on a recumbent bike? I don't want to do that. And I certainly don't want to walk around the house carrying soup cans around, as light weights. I don't want to do that. And I don't want to afford paying for a gym. Movement is the key. It doesn't really matter what the movement is. It could be really amazing sex. It could be dancing to a song in the kitchen. It could be giving yourself a goal of walking to the mailbox 10 times. It could be mowing your lawn by pushing. It could be cleaning your house. Movement is the key. You don't have to get stuck thinking that you have to fit in this mold of being a gym rat in order to relieve those feelings of anxiety. Movement is it. And even it's just movement for a few minutes, it will start to change it around. This is how I handle it, because I'm definitely not a gym rat sort of type. What I do is I put on really good music that I love. I plug it in my ears with a headphone, and I stroll. And I walk to the beat of the music, and in about 20 minutes, you feel that shift. I feel that shift in my body, that lightness that happens. Because it's as if I'm pushing the go button on my body. And it's an antidepressant, it's anti-anxiety, which means that it takes it away. When you would be anxious and depressed if you did not move. So finding a way to move in a way that you love, that's fun, that's awesome, is the key. So the last thing that I would suggest that's been a great tool for me, especially with anxiety or depression, is to make whatever I'm doing as pleasurable and as fun and wonderful as possible. If you need to do a task that you hate, let's say for me, it was picking up sticks in the yard. So I ask myself, instead of, thinking, oh God, I have to do that, I don't want to do this is terrible, I look at all the pieces I can put in place to make it into my own little mini party. I had a friend of mine that can take any situation and turn it into a party. And they do that by looking at what elements they can add that would make it fun, that would make whatever they have to do a lot more enjoyable. Because when you've got that fun element, it naturally works to start to reverse those feelings, because you get out of that pattern, that anxiety pattern of being, and you get into the fun, happy, alive, enjoying your life pattern of being. It's almost like changing channels on the television. You can be in this pattern of anxiety, or you can be in this pattern of engaging with life. So any situation, especially if I'm anxious about it, especially if it makes my skin crawl and I'm uncomfortable, I take a few moments and I ask myself, what can I do to make this fun? What can I do to add pleasure? Can I suck on a lifesaver? Will that give me that little bit of pleasure? Can I put a fuzzy stuffed animal cat on my desk? Will that give me a sense of pleasure? Can I have a picture that scrolls through, photos of family and friends and good times that I've had? Will that make me feel happier? Will that bring a sense of fun? Can I share a joke with somebody? So we get into the mindset of either or, black and white, up or down, instead of realizing you have the power to take virtually any situation and add elements of fun to it. I need you to get out of that mindset that thinks this is work, this is what work looks like, or this is play, this is what play looks like, or this is exercise, this is what exercise looks like. Because that's not how the body works. It doesn't care. It doesn't care what the exercise looks like. It just wants to move and live and be alive and be used and have fun. And the same thing with your body and your senses and work. It doesn't care that it's work. It doesn't want it to be work. It wants life to be enjoyable and pleasurable and fun. So here's your homework assignment for today. I want you to look at one of those 4 elements that maybe you don't do as much of that you could. If it's changing your internal world, changing your external world, getting movement involved, or making things fun, even the most tedious, horrible task fun. I want you to look at the area that you're weak in, and I want you to purposely try to add some of that into your life today. So just pick one. Pick the one that you look around your life and you say, no, I'm not doing that. And take one small, tiny step. Because when you do that, what happens is it gets the momentum going. It doesn't have to be a big step. I had one of my favorite philosophers is Alan Watts, and he had issues, man. He lived on a houseboat, he was drugged all the time, he had sex with all of these women, and he was a spiritual entertainer. He was a spiritual philosopher, and he had a lot of great information. Good morning, Dana. He had a lot of great information that he would talk about. And one of his truths was, love anything. It doesn't even matter how much you love it. Just anything. If you love chocolate, love chocolate. If you love sunshine, love sunshine. Because it's that little bit of love, that little bit of life, that it builds and it grows. So if all you can do today is drink half a glass of water when you don't feel good, do that. If all you can do is plug in good music into your ears while you're working or while you're doing something tedious, do that instead. Start thinking outside your box, because you're not designed to have tunnel vision like our society wishes that we were like. Just, little robots that would work hard and never complain, and our bodies and our minds would be fine. It's time we start revolting and saying, this is not a human way to live. We have to live as full human beings. Okay? So that's your homework assignment for today. Find the one thing. And please, if you got value from this, comment on it. Love, like, share. I answer all comments, and I talk back to people, even if it takes me a week or so sometimes to get back. And that's how we build this tribe. It's that one small step, that one little like, or that one little love, or the comment that says, great job, I love this, or this is what I'm working through. It's that one thing that gets the momentum going so that we can make a big difference. Because when we come together thinking in a human way instead of in a subservient, slave-like way, like we've been molded to believe that that's what makes a good person, when we start engaging in a different way, we will change the world. I mean, look at how much women's rights have changed over time. We still have a long way to go, but I sit there and I think about generations and generations ago in this country, how women had no rights and minorities had no rights. And it takes one step at a time in order to really make that change. So like, love, share, all that good stuff, and comment. And to have a great rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.